So the muscles of the arm, tuck here. We have your biceps brachii right here. Then if you look underneath it, you'll find your brachialis. And if you look and remember, this is your brachial region, so use that name to help you find your brachialis. Then when we move into the forearm, coming from around, this is the lateral side, the radial side, your thumb side. You've got this big muscle here called the brachioradialis, and it runs all the way down. Then over from it, if we are to move medially, we're coming outside in. We've got the pronator teres, and it's going to run all the way underneath the brachioradialis. Next to the pronator teres, you have your flexor carpi radialis, and it's going to start up at the humerus and then cross over down to your wrist, down by your radius. Palmaris longus is next. Then underneath the palmaris longus and the flexor and part of the pronator teres is a deeper muscle called the flexor digitorum superficialis. It's called superficialis because you have another flexor digitorum that's deeper, but that's not one we're asking you to know. So if we take this off and look underneath, you can see the full extent of that flexor digitorum superficialis. So most of it is underneath those other muscles. And then there's the profundus, which you don't need to know. And then if we were to come and we go back to the brachioradialis, and this time we're moving laterally, so we're at the thumb. Here's your brachioradialis. Next to it is your extensor carpi radialis longus, and it's going to come all the way down here. Next to that is a shorter one called the extensor carpi radialis brevis, right here. Then next to that you'll have some muscles that control the thumb. Then we're going to flip. Now we're looking at the posterior side. And remember, your thumb side, this is going to be the lateral side. Now this is the outside, and this is the inside. And so if we go outside in, remember here was what we just saw, our extensor carpi radialis brevis. Then we're going to go extensor digitorum, right? And you can see all these tendons, and they're going to go down to the fingers. Then you'll have your extensor digiti minimi, which goes to your pinky. That's not one we're asking you to know. And then over from that is your extensor carpi ulnaris. So that one is going to run over to your ulna. And that one's going to come down here. Right next to your extensor carpi ulnaris is your flexi carpi ulnaris. And this one's kind of curves around the side. So now we're on the medial side. Right? And so here's your flexor carpi ulnaris. Kind of starts back over here, a little bit on the posterior side, and then runs up this edge and crosses over to the base here. Flexor carpi ulnaris. So the flexor carpi ulnaris is right next to your extensor carpi ulnaris. And then if we flip it back up, we're back to. Alright, so now if we look under the brachioradialis, we'll see another muscle called the supinator, right? And that's going to turn your hand palm up. Right there, supinator. It'll run a little bit underneath the pronator teres. And those are the muscles of your arm. My suggestion for when you're studying these and trying to figure out which is where is to pick a muscle that you can recognize right off the bat. So like the brachioradialis, which is large, or the pronator teres, which has a different shapes, direction to it. And then move from there. So start with the pronator teres. If you can find that one easily, use that to orient yourself and find out the other muscles from that point of orientation. And always remember to orient yourself to the lateral and medial side so you know which direction you're moving in.